The Late Show's studio felt different at 2:47 a.m. Without the blazing lights, roaring audience, and controlled chaos of taping, Studio 57 at the Ed Sullivan Theater transformed into something quieter, more intimate. Stephen Colbert had stayed late again, hunched over his desk in the blue glow of his laptop screen, fine-tuning tomorrow's monologue about the latest political absurdity that had captured America's attention. He rubbed his eyes and stretched, the familiar ache in his shoulders reminding him that he wasn't 25 anymore. The building around him had settled into its nighttime rhythm. The gentle hum of ventilation systems, the distant rumble of New York traffic, and the soft sounds of the overnight cleaning crew making their rounds through the maze of offices and studios that comprised the heart of CBS. It was then that he heard it. A voice, melodic and confident, drifted from the hallway outside his office. Spanish, he recognized immediately. His ear had grown accustomed to picking up fragments of conversation from the diverse crew that kept the show running. But as he listened more closely, something remarkable happened. The voice shifted, seamlessly transitioning into what sounded like French, then Portuguese, and finally, was that Mandarin? Curiosity overrode his exhaustion. Stephen quietly opened his office door and peered down the hallway toward the main studio. There, methodically cleaning the guest interview area, was a woman he'd seen countless times but never really noticed. She was probably in her 50s, with graying hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, wearing the navy blue uniform of the building's cleaning service. But tonight, she was having what appeared to be 4 different phone conversations, switching languages with the fluid grace of a seasoned diplomat. He found himself drawn closer, not to eavesdrop, he couldn't understand most of what she was saying anyway, but to witness this extraordinary display of linguistic agility. She finished what sounded like a complex conversation in Mandarin, hung up, and immediately answered another call, this time speaking rapid-fire Portuguese to someone who seemed to be having a crisis of some sort, judging by her soothing maternal tone. "Excuse me," Stephen said softly, not wanting to startle her. The woman looked up, her eyes widening with surprise and what might have been embarrassment. She quickly ended her call and stood up straighter, clutching her cleaning supplies. "Mr. Colbert, I'm so sorry. I didn't know anyone was still here. I can come back later to finish." No, please don't apologize," Stephen said quickly, raising his hands. I couldn't help but notice you speaking several different languages. That was incredible." A flush crept across her cheeks. "Oh, I'm sorry if I was being too loud. I try to help my family and friends when I can, but I know I should probably do it on my own time." "Are you kidding? That was amazing. How many languages do you speak?" She hesitated, as if admitting to some secret shame. 6, fluently, a few others conversationally. Stephen's jaw dropped. 6? That's extraordinary. I barely manage English on a good day, and here you are juggling 6 languages like it's nothing. What's your name? "Carmen Delgado," she said quietly. "I've been cleaning here for 8 years." 8 years, and we've never had a proper conversation. That's on me, Carmen. Please, sit down for a minute. He gestured to one of the guest chairs. "Tell me about these languages. How did you learn them all?" Carmen looked uncertain, glancing at her cart of cleaning supplies, then at the expensive furniture she'd been entrusted to clean. But something in Stephen's genuine curiosity seemed to convince her. She perched carefully on the edge of the chair. Well, I grew up in El Salvador, so Spanish is my first language. When I came to the United States 25 years ago, I had to learn English quickly. Then I worked for a family in Queens. They were Brazilian, so I picked up Portuguese. The French came from working for a diplomat's family. And the Mandarin, well, my daughter married a Chinese-American man, and I wanted to be able to speak with his grandmother. And the sixth language? Italian. I love the way it sounds. I taught myself watching old movies and listening to opera. She smiled for the first time, a brightness transforming her entire face. Languages are like music to me. Each one has its own rhythm, its own personality. Stephen leaned forward, fascinated. Carmen, what you just described, that's not just impressive, it's remarkable. Do you realize how rare that kind of linguistic ability is? And you taught yourself Italian through movies and opera? It's not such a big deal, she said, but her tone suggested she was beginning to sense that maybe it was. It absolutely is a big deal. What do you do during the day? Besides this job, I mean. Carmen's expression grew complicated. I work another cleaning job in the mornings at an office building in Midtown. And I do some translating work when I can find it, helping people at the immigration office or translating documents for lawyers. But it's not steady work. Stephen was quiet for a moment, his mind racing. He thought about the show's constant need for cultural consultants, translators, and researchers who could help them understand and contextualize international news. He thought about the guest bookers who sometimes struggled to communicate with potential international guests. He thought about the untapped wealth of knowledge and skill that was apparently walking through their halls every night, emptying trash cans and dusting furniture. Carmen, I have to ask you something, and I want you to really think about your answer. Have you ever considered doing something else with your language skills? Something more central to your daily work? She laughed, but there was a note of sadness in it. Mr. Colbert, I'm 53 years old. I clean offices. People like me don't just change careers at this point in life. Why not? The simple question hung in the air between them. Carmen stared at him, then looked down at her hands. Hands that showed the evidence of decades of hard work, but which Stephen now realized were also the hands of someone who could navigate 6 different languages with ease. I don't know, she said finally. I guess I've never thought it was possible. Stephen felt something shift inside, that familiar spark he got when he sensed a story that needed telling, or when an idea began to coalesce into something actionable. Carmen, what if I told you that you could use those language skills here at CBS? What if there was a way to put that incredible ability to work in a job that valued it properly? She laughed, but there was a note of sadness in it. Mr. Colbert, I'm 53 years old. I clean offices. People like me don't just change careers at this point in life. Why not? The simple question hung in the air between them. Carmen stared at him, then looked down at her hands. Hands that showed the evidence of hard work, but which Stephen now realized were also the hands of someone who could navigate 6 different languages with ease. I don't know, she said finally. I guess I've never thought it was possible. Stephen felt something shift inside, that familiar spark he got when he sensed a story that needed telling, or when an idea began to coalesce into something actionable. Carmen, what if I told you that you could use those language skills here at CBS? What if there was a way to put that incredible ability to work in a job that valued it properly? She looked at him skeptically. What do you mean? I mean, what if we could find you a position where your linguistic abilities were the main requirement, not a hidden talent you keep to yourself during late-night phone calls? Over the next hour, Stephen learned more about Carmen Delgado than he had about some people he'd known for years. She had come to the United States as a young mother, fleeing economic instability in El Salvador. She'd worked multiple jobs to support her 3 children, putting them all through college while somehow finding time to expand her own knowledge and skills. Her eldest daughter was now a nurse, her son was an engineer, and her youngest was finishing law school. "They all tell me I should be proud of what I've accomplished," Carmen said, "and I really am. But sometimes I wonder what I could have done if I'd had different opportunities, you know? If someone had seen what I could do instead of just what job I was willing to take." "Carmen," Stephen said seriously, "I want you to consider something. I can't promise anything concrete right now, but I want to talk to some people tomorrow. CBS has international correspondents, researchers who work on global stories, and guest coordinators who work with people from all over the world. We have educational initiatives and community outreach programs. What I'm saying is, there might be opportunities here that could use exactly the skills you have." Carmen shook her head slowly. "That's very kind of you to say, Mr. Colbert, but I don't have a college degree. I don't have experience in television or journalism. You're just someone who speaks 6 languages fluently, who has life experience across multiple cultures, who has spent 25 years navigating complex systems and helping other people do the same. Carmen, do you know how many college graduates I've met who can't hold a conversation in 2 languages, let alone 6? Something in his tone seemed to reach her. She sat up straighter, and for the first time that night, Stephen saw a glimmer of what Carmen Delgado might look like when she truly believed in herself. "What would I need to do?" she asked quietly. The next 3 weeks were a whirlwind. Stephen, true to his word, had made some calls. He'd spoken with the head of CBS's international desk, with the producers who handled the show's global content, and with human resources about creating a position that didn't quite exist yet but absolutely should have. Carmen found herself in meetings she'd never imagined attending, in rooms she'd only seen while emptying their trash cans. She met with editors who were excited about having someone who could provide cultural context for international stories, with producers who needed help reaching out to potential guests whose first language wasn't English, and with the education department, which was developing new programs for schools with diverse student populations. The breakthrough came when a last-minute international crisis required the show to book a guest who spoke only Spanish and Portuguese. Carmen was asked to help coordinate the interview, translating not just language but cultural nuances that helped Stephen connect with the guest in a way that made for genuinely compelling television. "That was incredible," Stephen told her after the taping. "You didn't just translate his words, you helped me understand what he was really trying to communicate. That's not just linguistic skill, Carmen, that's cultural intelligence." Within 6 months, Carmen had transitioned from the overnight cleaning crew to a newly created position as cultural liaison and international research coordinator. Her salary tripled. More importantly, she found herself doing work that engaged every aspect of her remarkable skill set. She still arrived at the studio in the evening, but now she came as a member of the production team. She worked with writers to ensure cultural accuracy in international comedy segments, helped book guests from around the world, and consulted on stories that required understanding of complex cultural contexts. The transformation wasn't just professional. Carmen carried herself differently now, with the confidence of someone whose abilities were not just recognized but essential. She started taking evening classes toward the college degree she'd never had time to pursue, not because she needed it for her job, but because she wanted it for herself. A year after that late-night conversation in Studio 57, Stephen received a letter written in elegant Spanish script. Carmen had written to thank him, but also to tell him about the night class she'd started teaching at a community college, helping other immigrants navigate English while maintaining pride in their native languages. "You saw something in me that I had forgotten to see in myself," she wrote. "But more than that, you reminded me that it's never too late to become the person you were meant to be." Stephen kept that letter in his desk drawer, pulling it out occasionally when he needed reminding that sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones we pass by every day without really seeing. Carmen's story became one he told often, not on television, but in conversations about potential and opportunity, about the importance of paying attention to the people around us, and about the remarkable things that can happen when someone believes in you enough to help you believe in yourself. The Late Show's studio still felt different at 2:47 a.m., but now it was different in a new way. Now it was a place where Carmen Delgado worked as an essential member of the team, where her voice in 6 languages was valued and needed, where a chance encounter had transformed not just one life, but everyone who worked alongside her. And sometimes, late at night when the building had settled into its quiet rhythm, you could still hear her voice drifting through the halls. But now she was coaching international guests for their interviews, helping them find their own voices in a language that wasn't their first, teaching them what she had learned, that everyone has something remarkable to offer, if only someone takes the time to care, someone to say, what you do matters, and what you can do might just change everything.